Global Peace Index is a report produced by the Institute for Economics and Peace, which measures the relative position of nations and regions' peacefulness. The GPI ranks 163 independent states and territories according to their level of peacefulness. This collectively accounts for 99.7% of the world's population. Let us have a look at the list one by one. At number 10, we have Japan. Japan is 3 times more densely populated than Europe and 12 times more than the US. Yet, it still manages to rank highly for both peace and quality of life. Theft and other felonies, the National Police Agency notes, have become very less. Over the past few years, the number of recorded crimes continued to decrease to historically low levels. However, when it comes to the relations with neighboring countries, rising tensions with China and North Korea are often mentioned by the Japanese as areas of concern. At number 9, we have Singapore. While the Global Peace Index report shows an increasingly violent world, Singapore has become more peaceful. Way more peaceful when the ranking was first launched in 2008. It occupied the 22nd spot. The Institute for Economics and Peace points out the largest improvements in the rankings are usually broadly based, while large deteriorations in peace are usually led by a few indicators. So, while Singapore scored highly in the aspects of societal safety and security and low levels of domestic and international conflict, holding it back from the highest tier of the ranking, like Japan or Switzerland, which this year slipped out of the top 10 for the first time in decade. At number 8, we have Czech Republic. Up 1 spot from last year, over the last decade of Czech Republic has shown a sustained improvement in a great number of areas, ranging from political stability to personal security and international relations. According to the OECD, it also performs well in many measures of well-being, ranking above average in jobs and earnings, work-life balance, education, and skills. Not only have 94% of adults aged 25 to 64 completed upper secondary education, well above the average rate of 78% and the highest among the 34 industrialized member countries. But this small nation of 10.7 million can boast an unemployment rate of a little over 3%, one of the lowest in the European Union and roughly half the bloc's average. At number 7, we have Slovenia. A legend says that when God distributed the land to all the nations, Slovenians were overlooked because there were so few of them. They still barely reached 2 million. To apologize, he gave them a little piece of paradise he saved for himself. Slovenia's territory, half of which is covered by forest, boasts one of the greatest levels of biodiversity on the continent. With only 1 hour drive from the capital, you can either swim in the Adriatic Sea or climb the Julian Alps. It is easy to imagine Slovenia as a peaceful country. At number 6, we have Portugal. Portugal marches to the beat of its own drum when it comes to peace and safety. Over the past few years, this nation of about 10 million people has emerged as one of the biggest climbers of the Global Peace Index, moving from the 18th spot, which was held in 2014. Ranking above the industrialized nations, average in the terms of housing, work-life balance, personal security, and environmental quality, Portugal is also considered one of the top expat destinations for the overall quality of lifestyle. Even better, there is no need to break the bank to enjoy the Portuguese way of living. the Republic remains one of the most affordable destinations on the continent. At number 5, we have Austria. Since the end of Cold War, this small landlocked country of just nearly 9 million moved from its peripheral position at the borderline between East and West closer to the center of a large Europe. As a young European member of EU and outside of NATO, Austria prided itself on trying to get along with the rival political blocs and embracing new forms of cooperation with its neighbors. However, while Austria performs well in many measures of well-being, such as income, jobs, housing, social tensions have been growing in recent years. At number 4, we have Denmark. Denmark held the number 2 spot of ranking for 5 years in a row from 2011 to 2016. The number 5 spot from 2017 to 2020 and the number 3 last year. Now, in the 4th position, these relatively minor changes in the ranking only tell us that the kingdom is doing well. A safe country to travel and live in, Denmark is categorized by a high degree of political stability, freedom of the press, and respect for human rights. It also boasts a high level of income quality and it's frequently ranked as one of the happiest nations in the world. Yet, to safeguard all that happiness and those excellent standards of living, this nation of less than 6 million spends a lot. In 2018, to counter the threat of Russia's increasing military activity in Eastern and Northern Europe, Denmark reached a landmark cross-party political deal to increase its defense budget by 20%. At number 3, we have Ireland. The Republic of Ireland is one of the wealthiest, most developed and the happiest nations in the world. It is also quite peaceful. In last year's edition of the Global Peace Report, it managed to gain 4 positions and land in the 8th spot, the highest position it had ever held in the ranking. This year, Ireland outdid itself, many of its European peers, and conquering 3rd place in the Peace Index. Make no mistake, Ireland did not become the peace-loving nation overnight. In fact, due also to its long-standing independent status and neutral army, it is routinely ranked as one of the safest countries in the world. At around the same size as the United Kingdom, but with a population of roughly 5 million people, New Zealand ranks at the top in health status and above the average among OECD members when it comes to education, jobs and earnings. All this, however, comes at a cost. The shortage of affordable housing is increasing, making it difficult for people with low incomes to buy homes. With the gap between rich and poor considered the top economic issue facing New Zealand by 20% of its citizens. At number 1, we have Iceland. Icelanders can sleep well at night. They live in the most peaceful country in the world. No news is good news when it comes to tranquil Iceland. It is the 15th year in a row that it retains the number 1 spot. With no standing army, navy or air force and the smallest population of any NATO member state, Iceland also enjoys record low crime rates and enviable education and welfare system, and ranks among the best nations in terms of jobs and earnings and subjective sense of well-being.